Today we are making some killer buffalo cauliflower, and I'm going to show you how to whip up a foolproof and amazing buffalo sauce, and then we're going to make a delicious batter which we're going to fry our cauliflower in until it's golden and crunchy. Now for the buffalo sauce, we have a few options. First, let's get some Frank's, which is the gold standard for buffalo sauce, but if you can't get it, just use any red spicy vinegar-based sauce you can. They also have an accidentally plant-based buffalo sauce, but to be honest, it's garbage compared to the one we are about to make. And one of the challenges to making buffalo sauce is keeping the emulsion from breaking, but I stumbled upon 3 foolproof tricks to guarantee a smooth and silky sauce that we're going to go over right now. And so first, over medium heat, let's add 1 cup of Frank's, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 to 3 teaspoons of what's this here sauce, 1 teaspoon of cayenne or more for spicier, a little salt and pepper, and then whisk that up. And once it starts to simmer and you see some bubbles around the outside, kill the heat and then add 1 tablespoon of vegan butter and whisk that in. And this is the crucial step I learned on good old Reddit by adding in the butter 1 tablespoon at a time and killing the heat so we can avoid overheating the butter and breaking the emulsion, which is because of science, I think. So just repeat with your butter until you've added a half cup or 1 stick's worth. I also forgot to whisk in a cornstarch slurry, which is going to help our sauce thicken, but once that's all whisked in and your butter is melted, you will have a fantastic buffalo sauce. But during my test when my emulsion broke, I wanted to see if I could fix it by throwing it in a blender, and not only did that fix my broken emulsion, but it left me with a super thick and creamy sauce. It's seriously ridiculous how this completely transformed the sauce into something luscious and lovely. So I highly recommend doing this to really amp up your buffalo sauce to the next level. Another foolproof option is to simply melt the butter and then add everything to a jar and blend it up with an immersion blender. This works out fantastic as well, and the only snag is you need to then add it to a saucepan and heat it on low to activate the cornstarch slurry. But other than that, this is a super easy and foolproof way as well. Also, since this is made with a whole stick of butter, it will get thick and solid in the fridge, but you can simply reheat it over low to get it back to its glorious state. So now that we have our perfect buffalo sauce, let's whip up our fried cauliflower. And this couldn't be simpler. Just get a head of cauliflower and cut it in half, and then in quarters, and then in eighths. And do your best to cut out the core and break off or cut out bite-sized pieces, making sure to trim any of the tough core and stems. You should be aiming for pieces that are about this big, but don't sweat it if some are larger or smaller. It's going to be all good. Bonus points if they end up looking like little drumsticks. Some of you are going to wonder if you can use tofu or mushrooms instead of cauliflower, and you totally can. I have recipes for both, but feel free to simply swap the cauliflower for tofu or mushrooms or seitan. I will link to recipes in the description. But now all we need to do is prep our dredging station, so let's get 1 cup or 120 grams each of flour and cornstarch, followed by 2 tablespoons of baking powder. Also, real quick, did you know that baking powder goes bad? I just found this out, so I started adding a date to mine. It should be good for about 6 months, just a quick PSA. But now let's add a tablespoon of nooch to adhere to vegan law, a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder, as well as some smoked paprika, a half teaspoon of cayenne, 1 teaspoon of salt, some black pepper, and then whisk that up. For the wet dredge, we're going to do 1.5 cups of unsweetened plant milk, a half cup of Frank's hot sauce, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of what's this here sauce, and then 3 tablespoons of the dry dredge. And we're adding that to ensure we get a thick batter, as some vegan milks won't curdle or thicken enough. Once our dredging station is set up, we're going to heat up some oil to around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm using peanut oil, but any neutral high smoke point oil will work. Don't fill up the pan too much like I did, and always keep a lid nearby in the off chance that you need to kill an oil fire. I recommend using a deeper pot. This one is just best for filming. And then we just need to dredge our cauliflower first in the dry, coating thoroughly and dusting off the excess, and then into the wet, coating thoroughly as well, letting the excess drip off, and then back into the dry one last time. And once our oil is heated up, we can add in our cauliflower in batches, making sure we don't crowd the pan. The oil temperature will drop by about 15 degrees or so when you add them, but as long as you can keep it between 330 and 360 degrees Fahrenheit, you should be fine. But too low and it's going to get soggy, too high it'll brown before the cauliflower gets cooked through. But these should only take about 4 minutes or so, and you're going to pull them out when they look something like this, and then let them rest on a wire rack. And if you're like me, you might think, hey, those look pretty good, but can we do better? And the answer is yes. To get an even bigger, crunchier breading, simply double dredge. So we're going to start with the wet this time, and then the dry, and then repeat to double dredge our cauliflower. And this is my preferred method, but doing a 1.5 dredge is fine too. And you might also be wondering, can I bake or air fry these? And the answer is also yes. However, I found that these were more reminiscent of the cauliflower wings that left me feeling underwhelmed. They tasted fine, but just lacked a certain boldness that the deep fried wings possess. So if you want to air fry or bake, I suggest coating them in some panko instead of flour on the last dredge instead. But either way, now all we need to do is smother these in some of our delicious buffalo sauce and just do as much as your buffalo loving heart desires, and then toss them around to coat. And while I was pleasantly surprised how even after saucing these, they stayed relatively crunchy, I have to admit that the longer they sit, the less crunchy they get. So I recommend not saucing them until you are ready to eat. That being said, they are also fantastic without the sauce, and I have no problem just dipping them in some buffalo sauce either, so give that a go if you wanna. And you can totally dip these in vegan blue cheese or ranch, whatever your preference is. Don't let anybody tell you that ranch isn't allowed. But like I said, these have totally changed my opinion on buffalo cauliflower. And I really hope you all give this recipe a try. And for some other game day meals, check out this playlist I put together. And until then, I'll see you all next time.